This question is, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to what is a healthy diet for fat loss. I've read a million different things online when it comes to eating healthy, quote unquote healthy. Can you help clarify on this topic? Abso-freaking-lutely. If you want to think of your diet in terms of, say we have this like pyramid, right? We have this, this triangular pyramid looking thing, right? The things that are going to be the most important and that are going to give you the most results are going to be at the base of the pyramid, and they're going to take up the majority of the pyramid, surface area or something like that, right? And then as you work closer to the top of the pyramid, that's going to be the things that kind of like are the least returns of things that maybe we don't need to focus on as much, but the things that are going to matter the most and that are going to be what we should prioritize first are going to be at the very bottom, right? The base of our pyramid, setting up a solid foundation for our diet and our nutrition that are going to be the biggest bang for our buck, if you want to think of it like that. The first number one thing that I would say when it comes to setting up like a good diet and getting your nutrition on point is going to be choosing a diet that you can adhere to. So adherence is going to be at the base and foundation of this nutritional pyramid. If we want to be able to stick to whatever diet that we're doing, I'm sure you've known people, or maybe you've even tried it yourself, that you've like tried every single diet that you've known to man, like 10 different diets. The best diet is going to be the one that you can stick to, over the long haul and over the long term. Adherence is going to be at the foundation of everything. First kind of like row, if you want to think of it like that, of this pyramid, that is going to be total calories that you're eating on a day-to-day basis, okay? The biggest thing that's going to matter is to ensure that you're eating enough calories, or not as many calories if we're trying to lose weight, right? Day over day and week over week, right? So that's going to be the number two thing that's going to matter the second most when it comes to any kind of diet that you pick is going to be the number of calories that you're eating on a day-to-day basis, right? Most people can they might have like a general estimate as far as how many calories they're eating on a day-to-day basis, right? The way that I've actually been able to kind of know this firsthand is actually by tracking my calories. So that's going to be typically if you've never tracked anything in your life when it comes to your food and your diet, it's typically like, sometimes you feel like you do it for one day, right? That's what I would suggest, is just do it for one day and see, get a general estimate as far as how many calories do you think you're eating on a day-to-day basis, right? There's a bunch of different apps. MyFitnessPal is a really, really good one. There's an app called Lose It that I've used before. I think that was the first app that I ever used. And there's some other ones on the App Store, but MyFitnessPal is definitely my favorite. That's going to be the number one most important thing to determine whether or not we're losing weight over time or we're gaining weight over time. It's going to be the number of calories you're eating on a day-to-day basis, right? If you're wanting to figure out how many calories should I be eating to at least maintain my body weight, let's just figure that out first, right? There's going to be actually a scientific formula that you can actually use to figure out what the total maintenance calories that you should be eating to at least maintain your body weight day in and day out, week in and week out. Right? Very quick and easy and simple way to actually figure this out is to take your body weight. So for me, I am, let's just say 200 pounds right now. I'm 210, but to make it easy, I'm 200 pounds right now. Let's just say that. If I multiply my body weight by 10, we're gonna get 2,000 calories, right? What that number is gonna be something called your basal metabolic rate. So that's basically, if someone were to ask you, if someone were to say to you that you have a high metabolism or you have a really, really low metabolism, that's essentially what they're kind of referring to is your basal metabolic rate number, which this number, you can think of it like this. You can think of it as, I need to eat at least 2,000 calories to at least maintain my body weight of 200 pounds every single day and every single week, right? Even if I just laid in bed all day and I was sick all day, I would still need to at least eat 2,000 calories per day to at least maintain that number. And if I wasn't eating or drinking that number at 2,000 calories every single day, then I would actually be losing weight. So if I was eating 1,000 calories and I was laying in bed all day, I would still be losing weight because you have different organs, you have different things going on in your body that's burning calories without you actually even moving one muscle throughout your entire day, okay? So you're actually burning calories when you're sleeping, when you're in bed, all throughout your day, even if you're not at the gym working out. Every single person is going to be getting out of their bed, assuming that they're not sick or they're not sleeping for the entire weekend, right? So Yeah, we're burning calories watching this live right now too. So we're all burning calories right now, literally doing nothing and just sitting here and talking. But because I'm like walking around, I'm doing things, I'm working out, I actually need to multiply that number by something called an activity level that will actually get us to our actual number that we need to be eating to kind of maintain our body weight. Basal metabolic rate number at 2,000 calories per day, right? And what we're going to multiply that number is by something called an activity level multiplier. The main thing that's going to affect activity level is how active you are on a week-to-week basis, obviously. That activity level multiplier is going to be anywhere between 1.2 to 1.9. 1.2 activity level multiplier is typically going to be if you're working out like once or twice per week, right? So you're not very active, you have a very sedentary job, maybe you have like a desk job and you're not really working out too much. You're closer to 1.9. That means you're very active, you have a very demanding or active job where you're walking around all day. So that means you're working out 6 to 7 times per week, maybe even 2 workouts every single day. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle like me. So I typically would multiply my number by like 1.5 or something like that, right? Just to make it very simple. So if I'm going to multiply basically 2,000 calories times 1.5, typically that means that I need to eat at least 3,000 calories every single day to at least maintain my body weight at 200 pounds. If you want to lose 1 pound per week, let's just go about answering like this. If I wanted to lose 1 pound of fat loss every single week, what I would go ahead and do is we would have to eat below our maintenance level, right? We'd have to be in something called a caloric deficit. So we have to be in a caloric deficit every single day, eating below our maintenance level. So then we can kind of get specific on this. We can eat at a specific caloric deficit. So this gap right here, this deficit, is going to be basically how much we'd have to eating, less than our maintenance level to make sure that we're losing at least 1 pound or at least 2 pounds every single week. So if we wanted to be specific with this, 1 pound of fat is equal to about 3,500 calories. So if you were to divide 3,500 by 7, days in the week, right? You get 500 calories. Okay, so that's important because that's going to be our daily caloric deficit that we need to eat at on a day-to-day basis to make sure that we're losing 1 pound of fat every single week. The next thing that I would say is the next level of importance would be your macronutrient goals. What your macronutrients are what's going to actually make up your calories. So macronutrients, you have 3 macronutrients, which are your protein, your fats, and your carbohydrates. Typically, your calories are going to be like the biggest number that are displayed on your nutritional labels for everything. Next level of things that are typically, they're emboldened on these nutritional labels are going to be your macronutrients. So you're going to have your protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Then it comes down to like how much protein should we be eating, how much carbohydrates should we be eating, how much fat should we be eating on a day-to-day basis. So when it comes to those numbers, typically a good general recommendation, it might be a little bit different, but I don't want to confuse you at all. It's going to be a little bit different depending on if you're in a fat loss phase or if you're wanting to kind of eat in a caloric surplus and put on some muscle over time. It's going to be a little different, but let's just say for sake of ease that we're just going to try and maintain our body weight, okay? However much you weigh, so I weigh 200 pounds, and my maintenance level and my activity level would be 200 times 10, 2,000 basal metabolic rate times 1.5 activity level equals about 3K calories per day. So that's what I'm going to be eating at every single day. And so when it comes to how much protein I should be eating, one thing I'll mention about how calories and macronutrients tie in together. So for every single 1 gram of protein, so all these macronutrients you'll see are listed in grams on nutritional labels, right? So for every single 1 gram of protein, it's going to be equal to 4 calories. And for every single gram of carbohydrate, it's also going to be equal to 4 calories. And then for every single gram of fat, it's actually going to be equal to 9 calories. If we start out with protein, that's going to be, I recommend just eating at your body weight number. So I'm 200 pounds. I just want to be eating 200 grams of protein every single day. And typically I just recommend the same number for men, the same number for women, just to make it easy. And so typically for women, if you're weighing like 100 pounds and above that, then maybe eating 100 grams of protein might sound like a crap ton of protein. And so what I like to recommend for that is typically like a really good way of just getting in like a lot of protein every single day is obviously just with something like a protein shake or something like that. That's a good way of getting in your protein. The reason why we want to eat that level of protein every single day is because protein is going to help us with maintaining the muscle that we currently have on our body. So muscle is basically about half the size of, fat on our bodies. So really, if we want to look like tighter, toner, leaner, then we want to have proportionately more muscle on our bodies than we have fat. So basically 5 pounds of muscle looks about the size of your fist, whereas 5 pounds of fat is about 2 fists. So you can kind of see obviously how that's going to take up more space on your body than 5 pounds of muscle would look. That's why we want protein, because protein helps us maintain our muscle. Protein helps us build muscle. Whey protein is going to be your cheapest per serving. You're welcome, Kiki. So whey protein powder is going to be on an economic side of things, it's going to be the cheapest per serving when it comes to protein, because typically with any tub of protein, you're going to get about, let's just say 50 servings, you get like $50 on Amazon or like at a GNC or something like that, right? So if you have 50 servings, and typically per serving, you're going to get about 20 to 25 grams of protein. $50 for 50 servings. Basically per serving, you get 20 to 25 grams of protein. It's basically 4 or 5 cents per gram of protein, right? So it's very, very cheap. It's very economically feasible for most people. There's like vegetarian, there's plant-based protein powders too. They tend to not taste as well. Like typically the more fat and carbs that are in, that's why mass gainers, typically the more fat and carbs that you have in anything, it's going to taste better. And that's typically why mass gainers taste a lot better than a lot of other protein powders. The next thing after that I would recommend we talk about is our fats, how much fat we should be eating on a day-to-day basis. Remember whenever I said I calculated my maintenance level to be at 3,000 calories per day? And I said that 1 gram of protein was equivalent to 4 calories. That means that 200 grams of protein per day is going to be 800 calories. 800 calories of my 3,000 total sum is going to be in protein, right? So we have 2,200 calories left to figure out between fat, to portion out between fat and portion out between carbohydrate too. So the next thing that I could typically go to is going to be fat. So what I kind of generally recommend for this is going to be anywhere between 20 to 30% of your total calories come in the form of fat. So fat's important because we don't want to go too low, because fat helps in maintaining our hormonal balances within our bodies. I don't really like to go too low when it comes to our fat macronutrient. I like to kind of make sure that we're at least getting at least a fifth of our total calories coming from fat. Preferably we'd get about a quarter, so 25% of our total calories, right? So, and even if you wanted to, you could bring that all the way up to 30%. So personally, I like to make sure that like hormones are in check, everything's good, and things like that, right? And on the flip side of it, carbs are basically where you get most of your energy source. It's your body's first source of fuel, if you want to think of it like that. So that's why carbs are kind of translate into, using it for energy, if you want to think of it like that. So, and then your body uses fat, and then your body uses protein. So that's kind of how it does it. And the way that I like to recommend it is sort of in that reverse order. So let's just say that I'm going to eat at 30% of my total calories from fat, right? So we're eating 200 grams of protein per day. 30% of 3,000 would be about 900 calories. So 900 calories divided by 9, because 1 gram of fat is worth 9 calories per gram of fat. So if we do 900 divided by 9, we get 100 grams of fat every single day. So we want to be eating 200 grams of protein, we want to be eating 100 grams of fat, and then whatever the remaining is going to be the remaining amount that we're going to be eating for carbs every single day. If you remember, I said that 200 grams of protein equals 800 calories, 100 grams of fat equals 900 calories. So right now, that means we have 1,700 total calories accounted for, and then we have 1,300 left just to go for carb to get up to our 3K calories per day. So if we want to do 1,300 divided by 4, that's going to be the number of carbs that I should be eating just to maintain my body weight and maintain my muscle that I have in my body. And that's going to be a good proportion to be eating at day over day, right? So what that comes out to is 325 grams of carbs every single day, okay? So we're going to be eating at 200 grams of protein, 100 grams of fat, and 325 grams of carbs, okay? So that's going to get us up to our 3K calories per day.